So when we are graphing linear inequalities, it says the sign is less than, greater than, or less than, the line is going to be dashed. So that means after you're given a line to graph, okay, that means whatever line they give you, an mx plus b form, it means that the line's going to be dashed like this. If it has a line underneath it, like greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to the line, it will be a solid line. So on a graph, it will look like this. And that's if the equation looks like y is less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to mx plus b. So the underline equal to symbol tells you whether to be dashed or solid. Also, when dealing with x and y, so those are x and y equations, those are either vertical or horizontal lines. So if the line is greater than or equal to, so you can write that down so you don't forget. Or equal to, then that means that the shading goes up or to the right, because this tells us where to shade. So if you pay attention to my drawing at the left-hand corner, if I was shading for the pink equation, this says y is less than mx plus b. So I'm going to look at my pink line where it says y. This is my pink line where it says, so where it says y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to shade below, because all the y values below are less than. I'm going to do the same thing where it says y is less than or equal to mx plus b. I'm going to shade, I'm going to look at this line, I'm going to shade below, because all the y values are less than. So that is just an example of how you would shade those. So the shading below or above matters by the direction of which way the inequality sign is going. When it comes to being less than or equal to, you are going to shade below. If it says greater than, you are going to shade above. So down here where it says if the sign is less than or less than or equal to, then that means you're going to shade down or to the left, because those are where you see the numbers that are less than the y value. So we're going to look at some more examples. So you have this example. It says when dealing with slanted lines, it is greater than or equal to, then you can shade above. See how they graph the line first and then they shade everything above, because all the y values down here are less than. So you want to shade up here. If it is less than or equal to, then you shade below the line. Let me go back to that. So you go below the line. So if you look at where the line is graphed, the shading is below because it's all the y values that are less than. So the y values are less than on this side below, and the y values are greater than on this side. Here is an example. So here's an example of a graph, and it says graphing an inequality in two variables. So graph x is less than 2. So you want to start by graphing the equation x equals 2. So before you do this, you want to identify where is your y value, okay? Where is your x value? So my y values on my y-axis are like going up and down. My x values on my x-axis are going right to left. So on my x, I'm going to find the number 2. So 1, 2. I'm going to put a point here. I'm going to draw a vertical line because, and you want to make a note of this, any x equal a number equation. So that could be x equals 3 or x equals 1. So any x equals a number equation is going to represent a vertical straight line. And in this case, this is a little bit inaccurate because this one, we want it to be a dashed line. Because remember, it doesn't have a line underneath the inequality sign. So this is going to be dashed. So this should be dashed. And now our job is to figure out what side do we shade. Do we shade the left side or the right side? So this says x is less than 2. So where are all the values of x less than 2? So this x value is 1, 0, -1. This x value is 3, 4, 5. So we would shade everything on this side because it says x is less than 2. So what points would give you less than 2? All of these, everything to the left. So everything to the left, you want to shade. If it was greater than, you would shade the right side. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, the next one is a sketch of a graph where y just is greater than or equal to a number. And the last one where it says x is less than a number, oops. That was a vertical line. You need to know that when you're dealing with y equals a number, it is represented by a horizontal line. So this is represented by a horizontal line. So what you would do is you would find out where your y-axis and your x-axis are. And then you would find 1, 2, 3. So you're going to find where it hits the 3. And you're going to draw a straight solid line because we have that line underneath. And so this says that we want to represent all the y values that are greater than 3. So this line represents y equals 3, and that is a horizontal line. Because if you guys have trouble with this too, look at what the other coordinates are. This point is 1, 3. This point is 2, 3. This point is 3, 3. If I want to look at the points on the other side, just to confirm, this is -1, 3. This is -2, 3. So if you look along this line, the fact that 3 is the y never changes. So y is 3. So you know that this line, this equation represents this line, because all across here, the y value is 3 and it does not change. So we are given this inequality that we want to shade all the y values that are greater than or equal to 3. So you can make yourself a little note. Shade all y values that are greater than or equal to 3. So you would look and you would say, okay, are all the y values going this way greater? Are all the y values going this way greater? So look at these y values. This is a 2. This y value is a 1. This y value is a 0. This y value is a -1. This y value is a -2. And going down, all of these y values are less than 3. So we look on the other side. This y value is 4. This y value is 5. So all of these are the greater ones. So you would shade this side. So we would shade all of this because we want to represent all the greater values. Okay, next. These are hard, these are harder equations, and this is how most of your equations will look. They will be in 2 variables and x plus y equals form. So they'll be in slope intercept form or standard form. And you can't graph these until you get y by itself. So you would do the same process that we did whenever they had an equal sign. So this says x plus y is less than 3. To get y by itself, looks like we're adding the x. So we would just be subtracting. So you have y is less than, and I'm just going to bring this down, -x plus 3. And then that's the same thing that is written out over here. So now our job is to graph this. Remember, this tells us where to start on the y-axis when we graph this. This tells us where to move. So this is saying start on 3. So we count on the y-axis. Here's the x-axis. So we start at 1, 2, 3. We put a point here. The slope is negative x, which is negative 1x over 1. So our slope is negative 1 over 1. This tells me to go down 1 and over 1. So from this point, I'm going to go down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. And it just continues. And so we're going to graph that. As you guys can see, this represents my line right here. I'm going to kind of draw over it because this should be a dashed line. It should not be a solid line because it doesn't have a line underneath it. So this means dashed. We're going to shade below because it says that we want to show all of the y values. So all of the y values, right, that are less than. So you would look up here and we had 3. This is 4 for the y value. And I'm just labeling my y-axis. So 2, 1, and 0. So we will look at the line and say, okay, I'm on 3. Are my y values going to be less than up here? Or are they going to be less than down here? And they're less than down here. So I'm going to shade this side of the line. That's why it's shaded green. So, and that depends on whether it's greater than or less than. So do you guys have any questions so far? to Okay, on your papers, this is what I want you to write. And please do this. I don't want to come, you guys to come in tomorrow and then not have your homework done. It's super aggravating. So your homework today is to complete the quizzy assignment on Google Classroom. You guys got that? Eric, what's the homework?
Complete the quizzes on Google Classroom.
Okay, good. I have not uploaded it yet. I will upload it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Bye, guys. Jose, I'm going to upload it to Google Classroom.